Okay, we just spoke about doing the null test, but then there was some questions about whether or not the invisible band splitter itself was how steep it is and whether or not we're getting leakage from it in the highs. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to leave our null test here. We already just did this. We know this nulls. Yes, nulls. Check it. Nulls. Minus M. Fantastic. So the move here is to find that invisible band splitter. Let me see about, I think it's in here. And I can visible band. I'm going to go with a 3-band here. So the invisible band splitter is now up, and it should null. Oh, with a little leakage because it's not perfectly phase accurate. It's very close. It's much closer than the other one. It's clearly we're getting a lot of cancellation here, but it is not itself bit perfect. So that's the first bit. Is it the invisible band splitter, as unlike the name says, it's not fully invisible. It's actually still kind of visible. Let's try, as now that we're here, let's try my Lin phase that you get if you get my engineering assets if you join the approach. So here's my linear phase 3-pack splitter. Same exact technique, except this time it's done with FabFilter Pro MBs. Let's see how well this cancels. And I think now we're in bit perfect territory. Yeah, so see, you can tell here that like this setup is bit perfect, using linear phase multibands in parallel with the crossovers mapped to macros does cancel perfectly. Obviously, when I press stop, for whatever reason, you'll get leakage. I don't know why. For whatever reason, when you press stop, Ableton stops calculating for delay compensation. But either way, during playback, which is all that matters, it is absolutely phase accurate. So I'm going to kill this kid here. Boom. I'm going to put the invisible back on there again, because this is where, if I can spell invisible, here we go. I'm going to put the invisible back on there again. And now we're going to talk about like what it is that we're seeing. We don't even need the null test for this, because this is where we had a question in the Discord come up earlier today about why there was a frequency response, specifically when you're isolating the lows. If I go here and I just kill the medium and the high band, and let's say I take the pitch of this way up, you can see that it's getting quieter, but it's still there, even though I'm only listening to the low band. And if I take this low band way down, so now we're supposedly isolating this way down here, you can still see that we have significant amount of signal. Sure, is it less? Definitely. But it is still there. Obviously much louder at the bottom because we're letting that pass all the way through. The crossover here is, let's say the crossover here is set now to, or actually let's just make sure we have the crossover perfectly set. So we've got the crossover now set to, and I'll go even lower than this. Let's go even lower in pitch, couple octaves down, something like this. There we go. All right. So now we've got this thing low down. We've crossing over where you can tell that obviously we're here below 100 hertz. So I can cross this at about 100 hertz. We shouldn't hear any difference. Obviously, if I pull it below, it's going to go down because we're now starting to say, well, this is above the crossover point. So we're going to lose level. But if I have it where the crossover is above the frequency cutoff, this frequency here is passing through unchanged. Little bit different. See if we can have this be a little different, but for the most part unchanged. Again, we know the invisible band splitter is not perfectly invisible. We just learned that. But here's the thing that you're going to notice is as I crank this up in pitch, this is just going to start going lower and lower and lower in level. It's not going to fall off a cliff. It's just going to go lower and lower in level because the crossovers of this invisible band splitter are not that steep. So what it's saying, where low ends is actually much higher in the highs, and where the medium ends crosses over into mid and low, and where the high ends crosses equally, inversely, down to the lows. Watch. See, watch it going down, lower, 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 and just lower and lower and lower, all the way up. And sure, now it's at such a low point, it's insignificant compared to how it was before at the bottom. But it's, yeah, there's those frequencies are in there. And you can even see it now if I open it up and do partials. you can see the drop-off happening directly. And then if we pitch that up, you'll see the partials then really starting to take that hit as they go higher and higher up. See? So there's a little bit of a cliff when you get up here towards 10, but other than that, yeah, it's definitely still allowing some leakage. So if you're pumping signal through on your lows and you're bumping that up using the invisible, you're definitely going to get highs in there just because the steepness of the filters doesn't exist. If you do it with this, though, if you go with the Lin phase, you have the ability to actually more carefully isolate the other bands. So not only do you end up with linear phase and it's bit perfect, but you actually have the ability to have steeper crossovers. And so now when you isolate your low, and I can do that this way, you can see here that that cliff is more closer to where the actual crossover point is. That cliff is more significantly lower. And that you can even get more isolated with it. And I think where we were at before, this was about 100 hertz. So if I pull this down, it's come down to about 100 hertz where we were before. Yeah, there you go. And so now already you should be able to see a much steeper crossover here. And obviously as I go up, that's just going to disappear to nothing. So you can tell why, one of the reasons why I employ this tool and why it's in my toolkit and why it's been in my toolkit for years is because of this level of control, the bit perfectness, and also the ability to change over your filter slopes. Because without this, and again, you can go even steeper on here. You could go all the way up to 48 if you wanted to and make that stupid steep. But of course, then if you do that, you will need to go and change them across all of the other filter sets so that now you have the same equal steepness per crossover points. Let's do that actually on all of them, and I will show you what I'm talking about, because otherwise you're going to lose the bit perfectedness. Here we go. You're the last one, 48. And now we're talking immediate cliff. There is our signal and cliff. See, so we don't have a whole lot. And let me get rid of these partials so we can really see that level again. Get this back down to 100 hertz. Make sure that crossover's right. A little bit lower. Burp. There you go. Cool. And now you can just watch this cliff like, there it goes. See? So no leakage of higher frequencies. And that's exactly why I use this tool more often than not. So hope that answers some questions. Have a good day, children. Bye!